Earlier, you came earlier and you watched the discussion, which you were telling us that you picked one or two things from our callers. Can you tell us how prolonged insecurity exposure can affect one's mental health?
So, a good way to start would be to say that security is a very fundamental requirement to fulfilling existence. You need to have what we call peace of mind.
Right.
You need to have some form of stability for you to be able to be productive and live out your full existence to the fullest. And so at any point in time when that stability or peace of mind becomes disturbed, then it will, have a form of domino effect on every other thing that affects you. So security is very, very important to an individual's well-being and even to an economy, to a nation's economy. So in terms of insecurity, just like the things that you mentioned just when we started the segment, and then I also listened to what His Royal Highness mentioned during the phone-in segment. Anxiety, okay, depression, these are very, very real issues that people are dealing with on a daily basis. And the unfortunate part of it is that it cannot become a disorder. You cannot have a situation whereby people now begin to exhibit anxiety disorder. There was a lady that I think she wrote in and said that she was writing from Kaduna.
Yes.
That she couldn't go out this past week.
Yes, because of fear.
You understand? So if that continues for a very long time, it could become an anxiety disorder, whereby when even everything is sane and calm and all of that, you still don't feel safe to go out and live your normal life and partake in normal activities, as it were. So it's a very, very big issue, and it's something that we really need to pay attention to and begin to find solutions to.
For someone like that, I like the fact that you were drawing from that lady's experience, and you're a behavioral coach. I'd like to know, for someone like that, I know she's still watching, what would you advise she does? Now she's living in fear. She can't even step out of her house. So moving forward, we still know the insecurity threat is still there, even though the authorities are saying they're taking charge. But what do you recommend she does in the interim?
Okay, so I'll say three things, really. The first thing would be that for now, she should stay away from everything that has to do with news items, whether it's social media, whether it's your traditional media, because it's as a result of this consistent news item that she's exposing herself to that is resulting to that fact that she's now thinking, oh, what if I go out now? What if? So perhaps you might want to reduce her exposure to news items that she's receiving. Okay. Then the next thing will be that she wants to form a kind of routine when it comes to going out. So you want to say, okay, if I'm going out today, what precautionary steps do I need to take? Okay. If there are certain routines I normally follow when I go out, maybe I want to rejig it. Okay, so maybe I follow a certain route to my home. Maybe if there's an alternative route, I go through that route. Okay, I want to be very, very circumspect with the kind of information I share with people. Okay, so it's not as it is now, you can't afford to share every piece of information about your movement with just anybody. You need to be very, very careful with who you're sharing certain information with, where you work, what you earn, where you're going, the associations and the networks that you keep. These have become very, very vital information that you want to be careful with how you share, because you don't know who you're sharing that information with and what that person is capable of doing, or who has the possibility of picking that information in the process of you communicating with people. So you want to be careful with the kind of information that you share. And then the final thing I would like to say is that if whatever it is that she's going through or that she's feeling is beginning to affect her normal productivity or normal day-to-day routine, she may need to speak to a professional.
You know, so this is just one person that, you know, is saying that I haven't gone out for a week, and we could see how anxiety has taken over, you know, her mindset. Let's talk about communities that are actually facing this insecurity challenges. What are the mental health, you know, signs that, you know, distress these communities are facing? What can you say are these are the things that you can pick out from these communities, and why maybe their mental health is at stake at this point?
Okay, so this past week I was having a discussion with a client, and then we just finished a session, and it was about 7:30 or thereabout, and she said something that really struck me. She said, that she had her sister come visit her, okay, I think late last year. And she found out that the sister was complaining to her that every time she comes in, the doors are locked, the burglary is locked, they are inside the house, but everywhere is locked and all of that. And the sister would be like, open the door, let fresh air come in, let's, you know. And she's like, no, let's lock it. And the sister was asking, why is everybody locking their doors and all of that? And she remembers that some years ago, you could actually sleep in your balcony, receiving fresh air when there's power outage, and then you be there in the balcony till the next morning. Sometimes you will even be there with friends, and then you just gist through into the night and all of that, but nobody's doing that any longer. So this is something that might be very, very common in those kind of communities. So the things that they would normally do, okay, which they are used to, they won't do those things any longer. So for example, if they had night activities, it's either those things will reduce or they will not happen again. Okay, in situations whereby people could walk alone, perhaps maybe to the stream or to the next village or something, you have to go with guidance, or you have to go at a certain time of the day, or you have to have some form of precautionary steps before you do those movements. So what you find out is that what those people would regard as their normal lives won't be what it is any longer. That's one. Two, situations whereby they would sleep sound and wake up sound, okay, whatever time of the day they normally wake up, won't be what happens any longer. So you have a situation whereby people are waking up, taking turns to secure their community, or they're sleeping, and then at the slightest sound of anything, they're up and they're watching out. So, and you begin to have sleep deprivation, lack of sleep, and eventually all of these things, you know, become health issues over a long period of. So the effect, okay, of insecurity on a community is actually very, very large.
Speaking about normalcy, I recall during the course of this program earlier, a caller called in, and he did say he has gone through, or he had gone through the hands of kidnappers. He was kidnapped, and now he's battling. Since then till now,
taking pills.
That's in 2022.
Right, and he said he can't sleep. Now, I'd like to hear from you. You know, he's now having distorted sleep patterns. He's no longer having good sleep hygiene. For this particular caller, I'm sure this person is still watching. What would you recommend?
Okay, so I want to believe, because I know I heard he said he takes pills to sleep. So I want to believe that he's already seen a professional. I don't want to believe he's self-medicating. And so if he is seeing a professional, okay, I want to believe that he's been diagnosed and the proper medication has been prescribed to him, and that is what he's taking. And so in the hands of professionals, I think that's the best place to be. They will monitor how he responds to treatment, and if he's not responding well enough, they will know what to do to help him out. So I want to believe that he's in the hands of good professionals. If he is not, if he's self-medicating, I would advise that he stops. I would advise that he goes to see a professional. Okay, so when you see a professional will tell you whether you actually need to be on drugs, okay, or whether your own therapy is non-medication. You understand? So sometimes you may need to pop pills. Sometimes you might just need to go through therapy sessions whereby they need to help you change your neurological pathways and all of that. So that is, I want to believe that he's already seen a professional and he's in is in good hands. If not, I would advise that he sees a professional.
Okay, so Tosin, I would like to ask this question, specifically because of the insecurity and still on the mental health issue, because, there are stigmas. And then I want to know if it has a way of, making people, because it may be prolonged, right? Does it have a way of, becoming a kind of suicidal for people because of the insecurity challenges that they are facing? Because I've seen the lady that, committed suicide, and in her notes, she stated that the economic hardship and the insecurities are actually taking tolls on her, and hence she committed suicide. So would you say that can actually affect the people in these communities that are going through these challenges?
So one of the side effects of insecurity is that it could actually lead to depression. Okay. And when depression sets in, there's really no limit to what the person can decide to do in that state. When you're in that state of hopelessness, okay, when you're in that state where you feel helpless and you don't see a way out, you don't see how you fit into the brighter side of what is happening, okay, then that person is likely to get into depression. And in that depressing state, if there's no proper help for that person, the person can begin to have suicidal thoughts, okay? And if not checked, if not managed, of course, the person can actually go down that lane. So that's why in moments like this, okay, we also advise that we don't stay away from our loved ones. You don't cut communication away from your loved ones. There's this tendency where you feel that you're now comfortable and you're well-to-do, you don't want to have anything to do with certain people, you want to stay on your own, you want to stay,
to the best of us.
This is not the time to do that. Okay, this is not the time to do that. This is the time for you to be in a close knit of people, okay, that you are consistently communicating with. Even for those of us that are in the urban areas and you're taking healing rides and all of that, it's important that you're sharing details of those movements. This is not the time that you just want to wake up as a husband and say, I'm traveling, and you're not giving details to your wife or your spouse, even as a wife. Or you're not telling them where you're going, you're not telling them the details of what it is that you're going to do and all of those other things. This time is not that time that you will engage in those kind of behavior, because it will not help you. Nobody knows what can happen the next minute. Nobody knows who you're going to encounter out there when you go out. So you want to be in constant communication with your loved ones. You're sharing information, you're letting them know about your whereabouts, your movement, and all of those other things. In the event that anything happens, people can know what it is to do. When you're feeling a certain way, okay, reach out to people and tell them, oh, this is how I feel, or how everything is happening right now. I don't even know how I'm feeling. And I like the fact that that lady was able to share her situation. Yeah. Okay, it's not everybody that is vulnerable enough to say, this is how I feel. And some people don't even know how they feel.
That's a step she has taken for her to come out to say
exactly.
that, yeah.
Some people don't even know how they feel. All right. So it's important for you to be able to reach out and say, this is how I feel, or I don't even know how I feel, but this is what I'm thinking. And then people will be able to provide support to you and then help you out of that situation, so that you don't get into depression and anxiety disorder.
Okay, so this will bring me to my next question. How do you think the government policies can, actually help, the mental health of its citizens? What policies do you think they can come up with?
I think the simplest or the most important policy that the government needs to take out, which will have a very, very huge ripple effect on everything that we're talking about, is the government being very firm with regards to its security policies and activities and implementation. The reason why we are here is because people have lost hope and trust in the security apparatus, the security structure of the country.
Yeah.
Okay, this is just a joke. So I think in the last 2 days they've been sharing some numbers of what's the name now, civilian JTF or JTF to call around different. So they shared it in one of those community WhatsApp groups, and then somebody said, "Oh, numbers that you call and nobody will respond to you. And that's about the mindset that a lot of citizens have, that we can't 100% trust our security agencies, security structure. Okay, and I think that is about the simplest and the most basic thing that government can do that can actually bring back confidence and resolve a lot of these issues. If the security structure is seen to be up and doing and active, okay, and people can actually put that trust in the fact that we have a form of security in place, it takes care of every other thing.
I like that you touched on the part of the government. Now let us come back to the part of the citizens. Like we always say, we're here for one another. We're our own support. And you talked about how people should speak up. You know, whatever you're going through, whatever you're feeling, speak up. You know, so there is that courage to want to speak up. And there is also, what about how people are perceiving this thing you're saying? You know, now, okay, let's say the attitude of a lot of Nigerians now. A lot of things we see on social media is cruise. Everybody just wants to joke about something. So a lot of people who go all the way down to take their own lives, somehow have been stating something on social media, but people just come across them and they laugh about it, don't take them seriously. Now, my question to you now is, how do you think Nigerians and average Nigerians, especially the ones on social media, because that's the niche we should actually be talking about now, how do you think they should change their mindset regarding information that they see and how they respond, because there's a lot of irresponsibility going on social media?
So I'll say this here, that social media is the last place you want to actually go and address mental health issues. It's not the place that you want to go and speak up or find solution, as it were. And this is the reason why I say so. Social media is an open space, as it were, and there's no regulation, and you don't have a control over what people would say and how they will respond to whatever you're putting out there, or whatever it is that you're doing. So social media is a no-no for me, if you were to ask me, with regards to seeking out help and seeking out solutions to mental health issues. The best place to do it is offline. And the first place to find a solution is your social circle, your inner circle. Okay, so everyone must have an inner circle of people that you trust, people that you believe in, and people that
you can confide in.
Exactly, that are a solid support structure to you. That's the first place that you should always seek help from. And that's the first place that you should always look into. And that's the first place that's the first thing you should always form as an individual. No individual should say to himself, I know there are some people that, you know, take pride in the fact that they say, I don't have friends, or I have a small circle, or I don't need anybody. Okay, those kind of people are the kind of people that are the quickest or the easiest to develop mental health issues. Because at the point whereby you hit roadblocks or obstacles, you don't have any. You look to your left, you look to your right, there's nobody. And even when you're trying to call out, okay, people are not persuaded to respond to you, because in the past you have not given, you have not sown, so there's no how you want to harvest. Okay, so it's important that we begin to build our own social circles, our social network. It doesn't have to be large, okay, but just have that community of people that you are actively engaged in, and that you know that you are giving to, and so that when it's time for you to also withdraw from that community, you have sown a lot that people too can rally around you and then offer support to you. So that's the first place. And then the second place is at the point whereby it seems like your social circle or social network is not giving you that kind of solution that you want to get. Seek professional help. I know in this part of the world, when we talk about mental issues, we tend to look at it as from a psycho part of view. You are not mentally well or something. But we need to begin to change.
It's beyond that.
Yes, we need to begin to change the mindset of people. The fact that you are not productive, the fact that the things that you love to do, you find it difficult to do, the fact that you're not finding joy in the normal daily activities means that there's something wrong and you need to seek help. Okay? And seeking help from a professional does not mean that something is mentally wrong with you. It just means that you are looking for a solution so that you can become fully productive and you can really fulfill your existence as its way as a person.
So let me ask you this question, which I believe maybe it may be the last question because we don't have time. As a practitioner, you've gone out to the field where maybe you carry out your researches and, maybe get feedbacks also from people. Would you say there's an effective intervention, community interventions, that has maybe kind of mitigated, this mental health amongst mental health insecurity amongst communities?
Okay, so I know that there are activities that have been carried out by some NGOs, even by some professional bodies in the behavioral change space and all of that. It may not be big, okay? It may not be something that is well publicized. Okay, but I think that's where we actually need to put in more efforts now, whereby we are multiplying the efforts of these pockets of interventions that are going on in different communities and different places that we find it. So then we need to amplify those work because, so I was in a ride the other day and the rider was talking about a kidnapping issue that happened in Apo. And how all the what's the name now, traders had to gather money and all of that, and how people are scared to open shops and all of those other things. Mental health is now becoming a very, very big issue as a result of the insecurity that we have. Now, people are no longer comfortable to move around, and eventually to begin to affect people in the workplace.
Yes.
Eventually to begin to affect people with how they relate, even with their loved ones. Okay, because I remember somebody was saying that
isolating
themselves. You want to tell your people to come back home, but you can't. You're even afraid to tell them to come back home because the road that they're going to follow to come back home is not safe for them to come home. So it's going to have such an effect that eventually, as a nation, okay, we might not even be able to do anything meaningful with ourselves any longer. So it's important that we begin to amplify these efforts that are carried out in pockets in this community so that people now begin to know where to find help when they need help. And people know what they need to do to cope with the situation that we find ourselves in. And then collectively, as a people, we begin to, stand up for each other, hold up each other, and then until this passes away.
All right, thank you so much, Tosin Odedele, legal practitioner, should I say legal practitioner, behavioral change practitioner. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And we do hope that when we call on you again next time, you'll be able to join us.
Sure. And I love the awesome takes he has given us this morning. We've drawn from community.
Maybe you should add legal practitioner to you.
And we do hope that our viewer have been able to take one or two things from what our coach has said this morning. We have been talking about insecurity and its impact on your mental health. It is important that you seek help. It is important that you know that you draw from your social circle just so you're not alone and you're not at the risk of deteriorating mental health.